From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. Today's recording, we go over the incredible great news about Build Back Better Act. The President of the United States name checks it overnight, says it's going to pass. But going live today, $80,000 in new stimulus checks. You ready to pounce, Purple Hawks? All the latest details of how you get these brand new $80,000 of checks detailed tonight in tonight's 1 hour special report of Evenings LA. Then we go to the big money of CR for stimulus. Is it an inherent deadline or is it going off the rails today? A new twist on CR for stimulus breaking on mornings. Then we'll be looking at SS 300. New situation unfolding as Jay Powell's trying to bring down inflation, but gasoline prices surging to the worst numbers in nearly several decades just minutes ago. All the latest details of why the United States could be in a recession by 2023 if the situation continues for more than 6 weeks. Then we'll be looking back to the situation unfolding overseas, why Vladimir Putin's acts of aggressions are destabilizing economic elements internationally. Oil, gas, wheat, and Germany saying we're not going to ban import of Russian oil. Why is that changing the part of the equation? All the latest details today in this broadcast across the land. Then we'll be looking at the humanitarian crisis as Odessa is now the focal point of Vladimir Putin. We'll be looking back to the United States and what the White House is doing to solve the situation with gasoline, and not solve it. But we're going to look at the big money that you can get because the toast is toasting and the butter is buttering. The coffee is brewing, and at least we have enough bacon in the United States. Well, maybe not here, but at least somewhere in the United States. It just doesn't ever show up on set. It's a big, bold, beautiful day, and I'm excited you're here because the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and $80,000 in new checks going live. It's a big day with a lot of details, and Joe Biden having a lot of stuff to do, but more importantly, what Jay Powell, as your head of the Federal Reserve, will be doing later this week with that CPI number about to be released. All those details and more start right now as Mornings LA gets underway from Santa Monica, California on a beautiful Monday morning. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine. We'll be going over to the situation unfolding minutes from now and the humanitarian crisis as well. But first, we're going to look at the economic disruption that's happening in the United States overnight. And you saw that alert coming in from this channel. It's oil and gas prices surging out of control. Will we be potentially in a recession in no less than 6 months? It's surprising news, and you're going to hear it for the first time on this live broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica of Mornings LA starting right now. I'm excited you're here. But first, let's go into the Build Back Better Act. The Build Back Better Act will happen. The President of the United States name-checking it over the weekend. During an interview, he said that Build Back Better Act needs to get passed because of the surging prices of gasoline. What is Build Back? It is forced stimulus recon. 3 classes of checks, 3 add-ons of checks that pay you a lot of money, upwards of $15,000 of checks. Tonight, in that 1 hour special broadcast of Evenings LA, the #1 most watched show in prime time for financial news, we'll go over all these incredible checks, but let's get an overview of them right now. 3 clusters, starting with the first one. In that first cluster of checks, we have in there hazard pay and money for elder care. Incredible sums of money across the land. They got the Pell Grant in there, the college $500 check, the home repairs, and the big money for the CTC, $3,600, 1 more year. There is also 3 add-ons of checks in this incredible forced stimulus recon. The first one comes from here in Southern California. Maxine wanted to ensure that you had money to buy your first home, and she got it in there. Just a little bit less than $25,000. In that second cluster of checks, we have in there home repairs and paid leave. Paid leave is a lot, folks. $1,700 a week on the high end, up to $4,000 to $6,000 a year, and home repairs to weatherize your home. These are among the second cluster of checks. Now let's turn to that second add-on of checks from Bob Casey. just a little bit less than $250 billion. Free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. In that third cluster of checks, even more deliciousness. Free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and seniors checks. 2 on the House, 3 on the Senate. On the House side, they got in there the Medicaid gap fix and the hearing checks. On the Senate side, they got in there the dental and vision and also lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, which is par for course when we're adding in checks on the Senate side, like an MSC. MSC is a body of checks that would be added to the fourth stimulus recon that already has $15,000 to $60,000 of checks, but these are additional checks coming from IRS on a monthly basis for adults and automatic. So who gets them? The legislators represent that the eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. Let's recap. Single individuals, $75,000 less, get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, get it, but double it. Family of 4, quadruple it. Heavy on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security or railroad benefits, you get as well. It's not income, it's not taxable, and it's offered on a nationwide basis. It's not California stimulus, and there you go. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months, the legislators represent to the viewership of this channel. This is among the checks to be added to the Build Back Better Act that already has $15,000 to $60,000 checks that the President of the United States detailed in a new interview this weekend, saying it's happening. That interview this tonight on that 1-hour special report of Evenings LALATE in prime time. Don't miss it. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central. The next check that could go out the door is, of course, a CR for stimulus check. But on Friday, the President of the United States surprised millions of Americans by announcing a new $80,000 stimulus check program. Wow. Stay tuned, because later in this video, I'm going to go over a little bit about that brand new program. It's going live today, and Purple Hawks, you want to pounce. Average payment, $15,000 to $80,000 per household. Eligibility, much like a third stimulus check. And this is huge sums of money. If you're a member of this channel, you already had the details delivered to you on Friday, as quickly as it happened, in the membership newsletter. Become a member today. The link is under the video. More about these incredible checks later in this video. But let's turn to that CR for stimulus. Fascinating turn of events on CR for stimulus overnight. CR for stimulus is the opportunity to put a stimulus check into a continuing resolution budget bill. What did we have going into today? We had an inherent deadline, mid-March, a deal, $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds, negotiations done, House and Senate, the result of negotiations for several weeks. So what changed in the last matter of a few minutes? Very, very surprising. Am I worried? No. Am I concerned? Yes. Why? Because an inherent deadline of just a few days away this week may get potentially rolled over another 30 days. What's going on? The continuing resolution has $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds in there, $1.5 trillion, negotiating House and Democrats, Republicans and Senators, several weeks at issue. Done. Signed, sealed, done, dealed, and delivered? Well, it was delivered until about a week ago when the president said, I want a little bit of this money for COVID. And House and Senate, Republicans, Democrats said, no, we're not giving it to you. Then during the State of the Union address, he said, I'm going to come back and ask for a little bit of money for COVID. And I told the viewers, I think he's talking about CR for stimulus, but I'm not really sure. It sort of sounds like he is, but I'm not worried because $1.5 trillion of funds is enough for a $2,000 stimulus check. There's the amount that the president was asking for COVID in his two remarks doesn't impute the ability to get a $2,000 stimulus check, so I wasn't worried. Then last Friday, 2 days ago, I detailed to you before the weekend that the president sent a letter over to Congress via the Congressional Budget Office saying, I want a little bit of this money for CR for COVID. Again, I wasn't worried because it doesn't impact the ability to give you a $2,000 stimulus check of money because it's so little amount of money being asked. What's different today, folks? Today, we now know that it's not so much how much the president's asking, it's that it's even a penny. A new series of interviews released today, minutes before I'm going on air right now, says that Republicans may not pass the CR if 1 penny is in there allocated for COVID. Let's recap. They've already done the deal. They've already negotiated the amount. They've already signed and sealed this. At the 11 hour, president says, I want, 12 pennies for COVID. Doesn't matter if it's 12 pennies or 6 pennies. Republicans say if there's 1 penny, we're not giving you any CR deal. We don't want any money for COVID. Let's make clear. There's a little bit of money in there for Ukraine. That has bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats. So this is a big issue. What's the latest quote from Chuck Schumer? Chuck Schumer says, the negotiations on the spending bill are going very, very well. I don't like that quote. The negotiations were done weeks ago. There is no more negotiations. They've already done this. And that's why the Democratic senator from Vermont says, we've done this. Don't ask for any allocation anywhere else. So the inherent deadline, just a few days away. What would happen? If the president really holds out for 1 penny for COVID in the CR, it would mean it would roll over another 30 days. That is why that new allotment of $80,000 of stimulus checks, which are coming up later in this video, are very important, because this is going live today across the nation. And I'll show you how to get those incredible sums of money. Also at issue, SS 300. Great news, but very confusing news. Jay Powell this week will determine whether to raise your interest rates a quarter basis point to deal with inflation. And on Thursday, the Consumer Price Index number will be released, which shows us where inflation is right now. SS 300 is teed up perfectly. What is it? During his run for president of the United States, the president said he would replace COLA with inflation. Inflation would give you a better benchmark. Inflation came in at 7.5% in the month of December, as I predicted it would. Jay Powell and others said it would be 1% to 2%. I said no, 8%. So it came in at 8% in the month of December. Over the last few weeks, we talked about where it would be for January. And that January number is being released on Thursday. It's a Consumer Price Index number. What's the latest at the time of this broadcast right now? The latest details at the time of this broadcast right now is that last Friday, many thought that it would come in at 7.5%, the CPI this coming Thursday, and that 8% would scare people. Now this morning they're saying, we think it'll be 8% this Thursday. We're fine with 8%. This is good news for you, because if Joe Biden swaps out COLA with inflation right today, your benefits would go up about $200 a month right now. Let's go to the analysis. Your benefits are tied to COLA. It's a bad benchmark. It doesn't move. Inflation's at its highest levels now, so you want to swap out to the highest level now before inflation goes down. Who's bringing it down? Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve. His job is to bring down inflation. The great news is that if you're tied to a higher benchmark now, if inflation goes down in a few months from now, good, your benefits do not go down. Now, this is where it gets brand new, breaking, and very troubling news across the land. Jay Powell's job is to bring down inflation. But suddenly, he doesn't have to just deal with the issue of inflation. He has to also deal with more than just Vladimir Putin. Today, he has to deal with an energy crisis looming. And for the first time on Mornings LA, I'm going to show you how we could potentially be in a recession in 2023 if a certain event is with us in 6 weeks from today. What is that event? It's coming up in a second. Then we'll be looking at the gas situation that unfolded overnight. Never in the history of this channel have I ever sent out an alert in the middle of the night saying there's a major economic event that's happening. It went out last night. If you missed it as a member, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you why today it's even worse. Then we'll be looking at grain and wheat and why that element has not been assessed as part of the risk of the Vladimir Putin invasion of Ukraine. We'll be going back to the battleground on Ukraine, and we'll be looking at what Nancy Pelosi said on Friday and why economic markets are out of control today because of a series of comments by Pelosi. We'll be looking at what Vladimir Putin is doing in Russia. You're looking at the beautiful port town of Odessa. We'll be looking at the humanitarian crisis. We'll be looking at the fine opportunity to find gasoline somewhere else. Does the White House have a solution? And what about what's happening in Poland? I'll focus on the humanitarian issue and the safe corridor issue, which was heating up over the weekend. Was it solved, or is it worse today? Is Vladimir Putin not honoring those safe corridors once again? All those details coming up the second half, plus your big money and those $80,000 of new checks. Oh, boy, folks. We got a lot of money coming up in the second half because the toast is toasting and the butter is buttering. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. See you back in 60 seconds with those incredible $80,000 of checks. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And Mornings LA continues right now from the shores of Santa Monica, California, with our thoughts and prayers of the families of Ukraine. We'll be turning to the humanitarian crisis overseas unfolding by the minute and how it's impacting you economically back at home. Oil and gas prices surging overnight and would likely get even worse. What is happening? All the latest details of what you need to know. But we're going to start first with your big money and that $80,000 on new stimulus checks. Very exciting details. All that elements plus what Jay Powell has to do this week and what he can't do for SS300. It's very fluid and the situation is brand new today. And that's why I'm happy for you to join me across the board. The President of the United States surprised millions of Americans on Friday by announcing a new stimulus program live. It's a homeowners grant program, and the homeowners grant program pays you a lot of money. How much? $15,000 to $80,000 a pop, a household. The homeowners grant program is featured for members in the membership newsletter. It goes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. Updated on Friday, it's the lead off of the newsletter and features the website, the location, the details, the eligibility. What do you need to know? Here are the details. The new homeowners grant program is administered by the federal government. $10 billion of federal programming allocated across the board. The actual organization that you would be applying with is locally at your state level. It looks exactly like what this channel started with on day one. On day one, I was helping people get PUA in every state across the land. Every state did it differently. Every state had a different website. Every state had different start times. So while the program is set to go live today, it can be rolled out differently in different states at different times. Average payout is $15,000 to $80,000 per household. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, you can qualify as well, so long as you're a homeowner. The funds are absolutely incredible because they cover items that often have never been covered on this channel, that millions of viewers have asked for and never got it until now, like property taxes, homeowners insurance, association fees, but features other items featured on this channel and would not be duplicative, so you can get this on top of what you've gotten before from this channel. It covers things like utilities, home repairs, also mortgage assistance, and other eligible expenses that viewers have gotten for Thursdays and can get today on top of this as well. Again, the average payment is $15,000 to $80,000. It's a grant. It's not a loan. And it's administered at your state level. Every state would have their own individual website. You don't have to be behind on the monies, and the eligibility is just like a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. And there we go. Learn more about tonight and that 1-hour special broadcast. It's Evenings LA, America's most watched financial show in prime time. 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Time. Jay Powell has a meeting this week, and the FOMC meeting is to raise interest rates a quarter basis point because of inflation. That was an easy situation to analyze 80 days ago. Vladimir Putin had not invaded Ukraine at the time, and we didn't have an energy crisis. Today, Jay Powell has a very problematic situation. Let me tell you the breaking news on SS300 right now, folks, and this is nothing I want to mince my words on. Based upon current analytics at the time of this recording live, Monday morning, March 7th, 2022, from Santa Monica, California, if current gas prices remain at current levels through May of this year in the United States will be in recession by 2023. It's that straightforward. Jay Powell has a big problem. Jay Powell's problem is he's trying to figure out how to deal with inflation where he has more permutations changing by the minute than he had yesterday. Let's go back. Back in December, Jay Powell was saying, I got to reduce inflation. It's 7.5%, it's 8%, got to bring it down. How do I do it? I raise interest rates. Pretty easy. He didn't have Vladimir Putin's equation then. Now he has Vladimir Putin. So he said, okay, I'm just going to do a quarter basis point. I'm going to watch Putin. If I have to do more, I do more. I do a little bit less. He had one issue to deal with, Vladimir Putin. Overnight, what does he have? A second equation. An energy crisis. The energy crisis is getting very problematic because it's not one element. What's happening right today? And let me tell you what's brand new on Mornings LA. This is huge. This is your money, and this is the future of the U.S. economy that could be revealed in the next 2 months. Overnight, the price of gasoline surged in the United States. Never in the history of the channel have I ever sent out an alert from the LA Alerts in the middle of the night about an economic event. You got the alert last night. This morning, it's actually worse. At 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time last night, I authored an LA Alert that went out to membership of this channel that said oil prices were surging overnight amid reports that the U.S. may ban Russian oil, which is only 5% of U.S. consumption. And West Texas was surging to the highest price points of since 2008. This was a result as Congress was considering a legislation this week to ban Russian oil. That was the news alert last night. The situation is actually worse at the time of this recording. Let me tell you what's going on. Number one, gasoline prices. How much you pay at the pump? The best benchmark for this is AAA. A week ago, it was $3.62 on average nationwide, unleaded, regular gasoline, $3.62. Friday, it was $3.83, up 20 cents. Today, it's $4.11. It's gone up 40 cents in 1 week of this channel. Now, if you were watching this channel all weekend long, which you were, because the numbers on this channel were absolutely out of control, viewership, and we're all having a lot of big information overload this weekend, I ran a quote for you yesterday, 8 hours ago. And the quote was from John Kilnov, partner of Again Capital, says the national average could get to $4 a gallon next week. That was 8 hours ago, folks. It's now at $4.11. So the situation moved very, very quickly. That's number one. Number two, Brent crude, which is the international oil prices. I've been featuring this on the channel for 2 weeks. I told you the day one when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine went from 100 to 110. I told you 110 is not sustainable. Where is it today? 130. Analysts now say that if current gas prices where they are today remain the same in May, we're definitely in a recession in 2023. If current gas prices where they are right today, both domestically, internationally, domestically is West Texas, internationally is Brent crude, if they remain the way they are right today, we will be in a recession in 2023. And it's likely a 2-year recession. It's very scary. I'm not going to mince my words about this. And this is why this is a major issue. So why is this happening? Now, let me go over the analytics of this and the economics of this and why this is very confusing, but also very problematic. This was all caused by the Temple of Doom. Let's step back, folks. On Friday, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, released a statement saying that she's going to introduce legislation in Congress to ban import of Russian oil in the United States. Let's make very clear. This is a moral event. It's correct. We need to ban Russian oil in the United States. We need to morally ban Russian oil in the United States. But it's not an economic event because Russian oil only accounts for 5% of the U.S. economy. Only 5% of U.S. consumption of oil in the United States is from Russia. So banning Russian oil does not cause an economic event in the United States. It should not cause the price of gasoline to surge out of control overnight, internationally or domestically, because we don't use that much Russian oil. So why is gasoline surging out of control? Because it's the partner countries that are having a big issue, not us. Here's what's at issue. Anthony Blinken, who's your Secretary of State, appeared on broadcast media over the weekend and said, we're reaching out to our partner countries to have them consider banning Russian oil. For them, it's a little bit more problematic because they're dependent upon Russian oil. Again, 95% of our oil is not Russian. In the other countries, it's the reverse. 95% of their oil is Russian. So what's the breaking news at the time of this broadcast? You're watching live on air, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time from Los Angeles on March 7th, Monday. Germany says no, we're not doing it. We're not banning Russian oil. We are too dependent on Russian oil. We don't have a solution ready. So Blinken's comments are falling on deaf ears because there's no solution ready. Now, why is there no solution ready? This is the fault of the Western allies. The Western allies have been able to move quickly. If you've been watching this channel since last year. In last year, Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary here, looking at right here, got the Western allies to agree to a global minimum corporate tax rate in less than 2 weeks. When they want to move, they can move quickly. Joe Biden, we now know from this channel, dispatched Janet Yellen an order in October of last year to analyze the impact on the U.S. economy of Russian sanctions. That order involved analyzing the situation of oil. So her office was dispatched the instructions to look at the impact of an oil embargo in the United States as part of the sanctions analysis. Okay, that was done. But did the White House prepare to pivot anytime since October to have our Western allies get oil from another source than Russia? No. Here's the latest details on Mornings LA. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been telling you that Venezuela is the number one producer and exporter of oil. The White House is now trying to pivot at the 11th hour to get Venezuela to pick up the slack and give oil to our partner countries, because this would solve the situation. It's also trying to get the Iranian nuclear agreement done, because Iranian nuclear agreement would put oil back in our circulation. But that's not around the horizon. Now, here's the problem, folks. Since before Halloween 2021, October last year, I've been telling you that there was 100,000 Russian troops at the Ukrainian border, that this would be the major economic event of 2022, and that a lot of economic issues could unfold from this. I knew it, you knew it, the White House knew it. Did the White House have ready the pivot to have, for example, Venezuelan oil available for partner countries like Italy? No. As Anthony Blinken has been overseas to shore up strategic alliances like the Baltic states, good, the domestic agenda and the economic agenda, which is Janet Yellen's situation, has not been shored up. They have not shored up the reallocation of oil to our partner countries, and that's why this is a major problem right today. Going back to Jay Powell. Jay Powell, you have to feel very deeply concerned for him, because this is very hard, folks. This is very, very confusing. December, Jay Powell has one problem, 8% inflation. Economy's too strong, bring down inflation, I raise interest rates. Pretty straightforward. Then he gets Vladimir Putin part of the equation. Okay, well, I don't come in too strong because maybe economy is going to slow down a little bit because of Putin. That was one part of the equation. Now he has an energy crisis. He doesn't know if Congress is going to ban Russian oil, and then he doesn't know if other countries that Blinken is going to reach out are going to ban Russian oil. If Russian oil is banned, then that disrupts economic situations, and if they don't have enough oil available, then we have an energy crisis. Domestically, he doesn't know if an energy crisis here in the United States could be caused, even though we have enough oil, but because our partner allies don't have enough oil. Powell has to determine whether Venezuela gives us oil, whether United Arab Emirates gives someone oil, whether an Iranian nuclear deal is done. This is a lot of guessing. This is not one permutation anymore. This is 30 permutations. And the situation right today is that this number is not sustainable. $130 a barrel for international crude is not sustainable. Later on Evenings LA tonight at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I will feature a new report by the UK Prime Minister that says this will be a multi-year war. So if we say that gasoline prices will be at this level for 6 weeks, recession's on the horizon, folks. Now let's look at the price of gas, of grain, and why this is a part of the equation that hasn't been considered. The White House understood that Vladimir Putin may try to take Black Sea towns of Ukraine. Those Black Sea towns are agrarian, and their crops are imported internationally. You're looking at the beautiful town of Odessa. And while it's a major port city, the number one in Ukraine, the situation is that it produces much of the grain crops for neighboring countries in Eastern and Western Europe. Vladimir Putin's trying to disrupt the grain industry, and that's even disrupting our grain industry. The problem I'm worried about when we talk about grain is that no one in the White House has even analyzed the situation. The White House has been analyzing gasoline issues since October, but economic instability from bread, corn, soybean in the United States could throw us into a recession faster than even oil, with no one doing the analysis. Let's go over the situation. Treasury's job with staff employees is to analyze economic events like this. They haven't been doing it. A new interview released on this channel over the weekend said Treasury wasn't looking at it in October, isn't looking at it right now. Even worse. Wall Street analysts, brokerage firms whose jobs are to analyze all these disruption issues, aren't even looking at this issue either, generally. So they're looking at oil, gas, and a lot looking at these issues. And when we talk about crops, it's worse than oil, gas. How does oil and gas work? The less available oil and gas, the more expensive it goes up. But the oil and gas situation right now is going to be most felt later in March. Why? Because the oil arriving in ports today was bought months before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. In the case of crops, more confusing. Because the crop disruption, because the men can't till the crops because they're battling Russian troops, will be an issue not just this year, but years to come, because the crops won't be ready. And if we don't have that solution ready, then suddenly we could spiral into a recession as well. I'll have more about that tonight in that 1-hour special broadcast. Meantime, what's happening with Vladimir Putin and his acts of aggressions against Ukraine, and what's happening with those humanitarian corridors? The latest details on that starting right now. It's very fluid and it's very troubling. And the situation is that Vladimir Putin cannot agree upon very basic tenets of how to have people evacuate with safety and cause. And with that, it's getting worse by the minute. What's going on? Millions of residents in towns that amount to hundreds of thousands or millions in number in Ukraine are trying to flee into neighboring safe harbors of Poland and Romania. And that opportunity has been blocked because of Poland and Hungary, because those corridors have been blocked. What's at issue? The federal government has been watching, and you and I have been watching, as Ukrainian and Russian officials have met 3 times in 3 days to agree upon corridors in which women and children can flee safely to the neighboring countries during certain prescribed hours. 3 attempts, all blocked by Russian officials. And in some cases, women are dying in the corridor. The situation is even more problematic at the time of this recording, because minutes ago, a new report, a new video released on air, I'm not going to show on the channel for obvious reasons, is a 17-second clip that shows an actual tank in front of an apartment building in the district of Irpin, which is a part of Kiev, blocking women and children from fleeing. It's a Russian tank. And it actually kills several citizens, women and children, in the video footage. The video shows at least 5 Russian tanks and their crews within just a few yards in front of the apartment building complex. In the town of Mariupol, which is in the southeast region of Ukraine along the Black Sea near Odessa, I've been featuring the situation unfolding by the minute since the weekend. Multiple attempts to evacuate thousands of citizens has not happened because Russian officials have blocked it. The situation in Mariupol is desperate, says a spokesperson for the International Red Cross. What's it happening? This is 10 days of women and children in shelters, no water, no food, no electricity, no health care. So not only can they not evacuate, they're starving to death. It's a very desperate situation. Meantime, a new report today, minutes ago, shows that that hundreds of thousands of residents from the rural area of the capital of Ukraine are coming into the center of the town because the rural area is not safe and that they think that the center town is the only opportunity. Elsewhere in the Baltics, detailed last night on Evenings LA, Anthony Blinken, your Secretary of State, went to the Baltic states because the concern now is that Vladimir Putin may move along the Black Sea and head to the Baltic states next. NATO is now expanding its presence in Eastern Europe with that concern. We're continuing to do that, including the deployment of additional forces, including American forces in Lithuania, like F-38, F-35 fighters, various pieces of important equipment across the town. He said in Lithuania. Again, this is a major concern because no one knows where Vladimir Putin is going to stop next. What do you need to know going into today's later recordings? Today at 3 o'clock is a brand new Afternoons LA, and at 5 o'clock, of course, is that 1 hour primetime show, Evenings LA. At 11 a.m., I'm back on air with a special recording of Home LA, I Support Ukraine. It's a very important recording to watch. Why? Because there's a lot of economic events that are happening very quickly in less than 24 hours since even yesterday. It's oil, it's wheat, it's Germany, and it's Venezuela, and it's Iran. It's also Treasury Department. The ability to solve the situation is very unclear at the moment economically. Germany said minutes ago it will not ban Russian oil because it's dependent upon it. And countries that we are allies with do not have a solution because the partner countries haven't gotten a solution. And OPEC Plus won't release any more of its oil. So where's the solution? I'll analyze the economic impact on those partner countries and how you should be concerned. With gasoline now surging to prices we haven't seen in a generation, if they stay that way for 6 more weeks into May, we will be in a recession in 2023. All the latest details on that, plus the economic events that are unfolding. And then I'll be looking back to the humanitarian issue in those corridors. It's a broadcast you don't want to miss. It's 11 a.m. live on air. It's Home, I Stand With Ukraine edition. Then at 3 o'clock is a brand new Afternoons LA, and at 5 o'clock is that 1 hour special broadcast. America's most watched financial news show in prime time. It's Evenings LA. We'll be looking at everything you need to know because of a very fluid situation. We'll be looking at the fighter jets and also the fight for the Black Sea, why that Black Sea, if it falls to Vladimir Putin, especially Odessa, would really destabilize economies that do barter, and the situation unfolding with those OPEC plus countries. Why the White House needs to revamp its approach to alliances right now, because wheat and grain is not being analyzed. And while oil is being analyzed, there's been no pivot to get that oil ramped up in West Texas. No pivot to get that oil from countries like Venezuela to our partner countries. And if we don't fix that situation quickly, we could have a much bigger economic situation than even COVID. All the latest details of what happened with Vladimir Putin as well. It starts first, however, in less than an hour from now, as I return with you with Home LA, live and direct from Santa Monica, California. For now, subscribe, and I'll see you next at 11 a.m. from Santa Monica, California. Stay informed, stay focused, because the toast is toasting and the butter is buttering. Hopefully, the toast doesn't get more expensive by noontime.